Wander Franco, if you have been living under a rock and do not understand what the name Wander Franco means today, it's very different than what it meant this time last year. Okay?
Yes.
This time last year, Wander Franco was going to lead the Rays into the promised land. Now, Wander Franco, I don't want to say may never play Major League Baseball again.
Right.
I don't know, but it's looking at that's a possibility. Okay. Here's a quick recap. We're just going to bring you up to speed. I feel like this is something we have to talk about. He's 22 years old. Okay. Wander Franco, 22 years old, was placed on administrative leave by Major League Baseball and the Tampa Bay Rays for an allegedly inappropriate relationship with a minor at the time, 14 years old. Okay. Okay. It's disgusting. The Dominican Republic, the police, then went to see him for questioning, right? So he's not playing baseball. He's supposed to have gone home to the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic police can't find him. They conduct searches of his 2 homes in the Dominican, still can't find him. They issued a summons, and he no-showed. That was at the end of December. A summons is like, get your butt to court, we're chatting, okay? Didn't even show up. On January 1st, he then appeared for questioning with the police. It was a 3-hour interview, and he was immediately arrested after that.
Good.
The reason he gave for his no-show after his summons was that he fired his legal team, and they couldn't find him, and he didn't want anything to do with them, so they weren't chatting. And nobody knew about the new legal team he'd hired. Because he got new lawyers, okay?
Because they were probably like, dude, you're in trouble. And he needed someone. He wanted somebody who's like, we can, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we can work it out.
He was looking for Saul Goodman, right?
Yeah, he was. That's exactly what he was doing. Call Bob Odenkirk. All right, so that January 1st, he has this big 3-hour interview. He's immediately arrested after that, okay? The victim, the 14-year-old girl, and her mother then, in the interim between then and now, have spoken out. And we have text messages that have been released showing some of the conversation between Wander Franco and this 14-year-old girl and the mom. And so some of the things that we learned are that the allegations escalated not just from misconduct, but to sexual misconduct and exploitation of a minor. Okay. Allegations also assert that Wander Franco gave the girl's mom a car and somewhere between $1,500 and $1,700 a month USD for hush money, basically, to buy her consent to this relationship.
So I feel yucky sitting here while you're talking about this.
I'm sorry, I do too. I don't want to, but these are the facts, okay? He was then accused formally of commercial, because there's money. So now it's commercial sexual exploitation and money laundering. Now, we think the money laundering maybe gets dropped. We don't know yet, but there's some squishy on that one. But the sexual exploitation is not. The judge then, just a few days ago, orders so he's arrested. He's in jail. Then he was issued a conditional release by the judge pending the remainder of the investigation. They lowered his fine to $34,000 for his release on bail equivalent.
That's a lot of money in the DR, though. Let's be clear.
It is a ton. Yeah. So he paid his $34,000 fine, which is down from like 86 or something like that. And now he is required to appear in court on the 30th of every month or until the case is resolved, and that mandate needs to change. The crazy part about this crazy story, like the very cherry on top for me, is that his wife picked him up from jail.
Oof. So real quick, Brig, $1 Dominican peso is, $1 is 58 Dominican pesos.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, this was like he needed to pay like, I don't know, $1 million Dominican pesos or something. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's the quick recap of the Wander Franco situation. I'm not saying.
Oh,
I
did
don't
you
know what
see
I'm saying.
they lessened the charges? So his initial charges came with
They
like
did.
20, 30, and 6. I think it was like 10, 20, and 30 years in jail or in
Yeah.
prison, respectively. And then like what they lowered it to, the charges they lowered it to only come with like 5 years.
Yeah.
I was
Which I
like,
think it's hinky. But it also I'm choosing to believe that it's because the investigation has narrowed to the point where they're pinpointing the truth, and some of the other allegations they're finding maybe didn't extend into reasonable suspicion, or the burden of proof isn't being fulfilled. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't, and I don't have, my Juris Doctorate does not extend to that kind of information. So
This is what I'm saying though. Major League Baseball, because that's what we're talking about now. Major League Baseball has remained mum. They're not doing anything because they are going to wait until the civil case is completely taken care of before they will very likely issue any
here's the
sort
thing,
of
Brig.
statement.
Here's the thing with all this is that if he is found guilty and spends 1/2 of a second in jail because he's found guilty of this,
Yeah,
he will never play Major League Baseball again. Nobody's going
that's
to want to touch him with a 99.5-foot pole. Not even.
exactly.
Like that's what this comes down to. Is that
Yes.
like he's already admitted to the relationship, like that part,
Yeah,
I think honestly probably puts him in baseball jail for life. That he's never
that's
playing
what I think.
baseball again. That I don't think even if they're like, well, there's this technicality and this blah 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 blah, right? And he is somehow in some way, because Saul Goodman does his thing, right?
Yeah,
And we
right.
find out that he
He's
is
acquitted of
found
all
innocent in
charges.
some
Yeah,
way. I think he's admitted to enough that baseball is still like, no,
yeah,
we
I
don't
think
want
so
Trevor
too.
Bauer. We don't want you.
Yeah, and I think the reason this is interesting is layered. The reasons are layered, but I think Trevor Bauer is part of the reason this is layered. And if they've gone ahead and said no way, Trevor Bauer's never getting back in, then this dude never playing
No
baseball
chance.
again.
No
Not a
chance.
chance. Not a single chance. So for all of you who are wondering what happened to Wander Franco, there's the deal.